Hello, good friends. How are you today? It seems the time is moving very quickly. Somehow, instead of being slow, it's fast. And one would have thought in these conditions in which we live that it would be progressing much more slowly. But for some reason, it seems that everything goes by very quickly. And so, I'm going to start where we left last time. I told you we were in the forest, and I'll continue the story of the winter from 1941 to 1942. And now we're in 1942. The German army of some 30,000 soldiers that were designated taken away from the front lines to attack us in the forest, literally devastated and decimated the partisans that were there. From the Jewish group of some 350, maybe 400 partisans, maybe 50, 100 remained. Most of them were killed. And then the Jewish company, the partisans, was disintegrated, and the Jewish partisans as such joined up the various groups of partisans consisting of Russian soldiers, Belarusian people, and other maybe Polish people, whoever were there fighting together in order to survive. I must emphasize that the whole issue of fighting among the partisans had only one purpose in mind, and that was to survive and defend oneself in order to be able to say, I did not die in vain, I put up a fight for my life and fell in battle. That was the motivation, this was the motivating force which drove the partisans to fight, and that is also what motivated the civilian population that lived among the partisans, such as myself, and my family and others like us. We were motivated just with the purpose of surviving one day at a time. And so during this winter, the Jewish partisan group was now finished, and the Jewish partisans were part of the general partisan forces in the forest. At that time, they were also beginning to discharge various military actions. My family had 4 fighting partisans, and my uncle was always involved with the partisans many times, even now, to guide them and show them around in the forest, in the villages, and so forth. The oldest brother of my Aunt Zelda was called Isser, and he was in the company of partisans. They attacked a German outpost in one of the villages. And during the outpost of the fighting, they actually succeeded in conquering the village and destroying the outposts. And as they were occupying the positions of where the German soldiers were, Isser went over to open up the door of a, what do you call it, a tank, a semi-tank, which was on wheels and not on the chains. As he opened the door of this tank, it exploded and he was killed. He was the first one of the 3 brothers and the brother-in-law, the 4 fighting men in our family, to die. It was a devastation for us, and I don't know how to say it, but to confront death was a daily occurrence. So when somebody died, you expressed your sorrow and pain with tears and crying, but most of it remained within your heart, and the emotions were controlled. The winter was harsh, and we had to keep on with our moving forward. As winter stopped, spring came. We now try to establish ourselves a little bit more in this new forest. This particular forest where we were now was a very thick forest full of underbrush and a lot of trees were thickly populated trees, and a lot of foliage. And so we were able to use the foliage, cutting down the foliages, we would make mattresses out of them. And we made some kind of cabins from blankets, and sometimes we used the bark of the trees in order to find some shelter for ourselves. This we kept on doing for the whole summer, for this period. I must tell you that many things are running together in my mind of what happened in the forest. In this particular forest, we also had to develop some new connections and contacts with the farmers and partisans. And during the summer times, people we were sitting a little bit on the outside. Some days were extremely hot, some days were extremely cool. But we managed. The main thing was always to be on the lookout for potential marauders that would come in the forest and by accident stumble upon us and kill us. And so, as we kept on going from this event to another event in life, we grudged along from day to day. There was nothing special in the particular events from day to day. It was really, in a way, boring. But the question is, how can you be bored when you're always afraid? And that was the main thing. Food was scarce. And another problem which we had in obtaining the food is not only to find the right farmer who might have food. The fact of the matter was many farmers had nothing to share with us. They were left bereft of their own possessions, and they had nothing to eat themselves. Some farmers had to be careful because we were informers, or they themselves might turn against us and kill us. So when my uncle went with his people from one village to another, they had to be very careful in selecting which farmer to choose to approach in order to seek out some help from him. That was a daily chore, and in the process of this, many people were apprehended and killed, either by some farmers or by farmers who informed against them. And this is how we lived from day to day. As we progressed in this summer, we also noticed that the Germans were marching forward on the front and in the Soviet Union, and the news from the front was very depressing and very discouraging. So we who needed some hope were losing our hope for survival every day more and more. And that is one of the things which weighed heavily on the people in the forest. How can I express it in simple words? The uncertainty was 24 hours of the day. So when we went to sleep, we never knew if we would get up, and we get up, we never knew if we'd survive the day. And that's how we kept on going from day to day and night to night. In the course of this summer, we also began to worry, where should we spend the winter? And we were making plans of returning back to the forest from which we came. For some reason, the environment of the peasants of the forest around that particular forest was much more, how shall I put it, friendly toward the partisans and to us, the Jewish people in the forest. I would like to use this moment again to express my hope that the story which I'm telling you from my personal life will impress upon you the fact that hatred, anti-Semitism, does not stop with words alone. It leads to deeds, and the deeds are gruesome and cruel. And it's murder and bloodshed, destruction. And that is really something which people should take into account and learn from the days of the Holocaust. The Holocaust did not come down from heaven overnight. It developed as a result of a long process of anti-Semitism throughout the world, particularly in Germany and the surrounding countries and all of Europe. So I'm appealing to you today to take my words to heart and respond by joining us, and let us be united against anti-Semitism. I would like to wish you all the best for the next week and look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye.